everybody, welcome to a live stream, sorta, kinda. Hope you're all doing well. Sorry for the confusion. We had a little bit of a YouTube hiccup, so we had to create a new live stream link for all of my mixing members over at mixingmadeeasy.net. So this is now becoming a public live stream that's not supposed to be. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me know if you can hear the sound of my voice and how does it sound, because who knows what other kind of technical difficulty we're going to have tonight. But so this is our coaching call for December for mixingmadeeasy.net, which is normally a private call. However, tonight, trying to launch the stream, there was some kind of quirky thing happening with YouTube, and it was kind of working, but not really. Audio's good, great. And we had to restart the stream, and I had to make it a public stream to try to get up there as quickly as I could. So I apologize to all the mixingmadeeasy.net members. Usually we do one of these a month for everybody that doesn't know, and we only have difficulties maybe once or twice a year. So being this is the last one of 2022, we haven't had some challenging issues in a while. So I'm really sorry, but we're here. We'll wait a few minutes. I emailed all the members, so we got the new link. David S.J. was so kind to put it up on our user community, so people might start filing in, and I apologize for the confusion. My bad, I think. Or maybe YouTube's bad. I'm not sure. But one of us screwed up, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, so for people who are not part of mixingmadeeasy.net and you just saw me go live and you're jumping on here and you're following Home Recording Made Easy, welcome. You get to see what's typically a private coaching call. Now, we usually do these once or twice a year when we open up enrollment doors at mixingmadeeasy.net, which usually happens a couple of months ago. But now you're going to get a chance to get an inside peek to what mixingmadeeasy.net is all about. And although if you go to the website, membership has been closed now for a couple of weeks and doesn't open for another 6 months. However, if you are watching at Home Recording Made Easy and you go over to mixingmadeeasy.net, which Dave just put a link in the chat, thank you so much, and it'll say membership is closed. If you are interested in becoming a member, if you email me through that website, I can send you a special sign-up link if you'd be interested in checking it out. If not, you can wait until July 2023 when we normally open up enrollment again. Okay, so we're going to open up the doors if there's somebody that wants to join because you never heard of mixingmadeeasy.net. So if you haven't heard of mixingmadeeasy.net, go check out the website. All the information is there. If you're interested in signing up, shoot me an email and I will send you a link for you to sign up. Okay, so for all of our regular members that are here, welcome, guys. I hope you're all doing well. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and you're getting geared up for Christmas. We'll be doing another live stream probably on Home Recording Made Easy, another public live stream right before New Year's to celebrate the new year. But welcome anyway, and I hope you're all doing well. So before we get into critiquing some of the mixes, let's talk about a couple of things I want to let you know. Number one is right now over at homerecordingmadeeasy.com, everything is 50% off with a coupon code, which is right on the main homepage. You can't miss it. So for people, anyone listening to me tonight, you can go get 50% off any of the training courses on the website. Go to the homerecordingmadeeasy.com homepage and you'll see that coupon code. The other thing I want to let everybody know, including all of my members, I'm just getting ready to start shooting videos for this PreSonus Studio Live that's sitting in front of me, which you can't see, for the dog control mode, for the mixing mode. It's got a few quirks in it, but it is pretty cool once I figured it all out. So videos will be coming soon. So if you've been interested in the Studio Live from a DAW control perspective, coming up very shortly, you're going to start seeing some videos around it. So stay tuned to that. So far, so good. As far as that goes, it is pretty cool, but it takes a little bit of muscle memory getting used to. And like I had said, I think in the live stream that we did on the SSL UF8, where I said thus far the SSL UF8 was the only DAW controller where I did not need to reach out for support to figure out certain features and functions out of all the ones I've tried. And I will say that the Studio Live falls into that camp as well. I had to reach out for a lot of support to get this thing figured out. Not because the mixer wasn't working, because the manual and the instruction they give you is poor, to say the least. So SSL still ranks as the #1 dog controller where you plug it in and play, and you can read a little bit in the manual and you could get up and running very quickly. I haven't had that easy of a time with the Studio Live. However, once I got it figured out, it is really cool and it's not that big of a deal. And that's why I'm going to make the videos so you don't have to go search all over YouTube looking for the answers on how to make dog control work with this thing. You're going to just stick it up with Uncle Dave and he's going to show you how to do it. And it's really not that difficult. So I'm going to be running some of the mixes off the Studio Live tonight. So that's going to be pretty cool. The other thing I want to let you know is that tonight, the plugin we're going to give away is the kit plugin, the BB105N, the Neve preamp channel strip plugin. That's going to be our prize for one lucky winner tonight, which is going to be cool. So you guys will get a chance to enjoy that. I also got a bunch of new plugins for next year's mixing contest for the folks that are not members here. Currently, that are watching on the YouTubes, we do a monthly mixing contest where part of our coaching call is I take about 10 mixes and we do a live critique here, which we'll do in a few minutes. And then I give away a plugin, and we have plugins from all the major manufacturers. Tonight's going to be KIT plugins, but I have a bunch of cool plugins from IK Multimedia and a bunch of other companies, all for next year. So stay tuned for that. Maybe you'll win yourself some free plugins. Also, in January, probably by mid-February, the hybrid mixing course, the first one will come out. So stay tuned for that. I'll let all the mixingmadeeasy.net members know, as well as people at home recording Made Easy. That is coming along. So we're going to be doing that in January. It should be out sometime in February. And that's going to be cool. The other thing I started experimenting with tonight, and I wanted to talk to my members about, was I started to experiment with the SonarWorks new sound reference ID room correction software. I was wondering if any of you guys actually use that and what's your experience with it. I spent all day on the console listening to music, measuring the room, listening to reference tracks and all that stuff, and kind of try to dial it in. It's a pretty involved process, but it is pretty cool. It's a bunch of voodoo that goes on under the hood with that, but it works really well. And so we talk every month in our coaching call about certain problems and issues with mixes and such, about environment and room. If you're not familiar with SonarWorks and you're not familiar with that product, you really ought to check it out. It is really cool, and it can help correct any problems that you're having in the room. They also do things where they can calibrate your specific pair of headphones, or you can use a generic profile for the headphones that you have. It is really cool. You ought to check that out. You ought to check it out. So that'll be cool. So let me just say hi to all of you before we jump in. Jim Chisholm is here. Hey, Jim. And Peter. Hey, Peter, how you doing? From Western Australia. Good to see you. Bops, New York. Hey, Bops, New York. What's going on? Daniel's here. Hey, Daniel from Quebec City, Canada. Surix. Hi, David S.J. Oh, talking to David S.J. Okay, cool. Jimmy Farmer. Hey, James. How are you? Good to see you. Brian Alexander. Hi, Brian. Let's see. Who else? Milkman. Hey, Milkman. What's going on? What happened to the link? Yeah, I'm sorry, Milkman. You got the explanation. My bad. I think it was my bad. I'm going to blame it on YouTube, but it was probably me. I don't know. Brian Kaufman's here. Hey, Brian, how are you? Good to see you as well. Tony's here. Hey, Tony, what's going on? Good to see you as well. A lot of members. We've got a lot of new members, by the way, over Mixing Made Easy during our yearly enrollment. I think we got 23 new members in the month of November, which is great. So we have a lot of new members of the family. So, oh, by the way, this is all being recorded. That'll be posted on the mixingmadeeasy.net website for tomorrow for our members. So for people that can't watch us live, which happens a lot, time zones, work schedules, things of that nature, they can always watch this live, assuming that it's recording. It should be recording. It's supposed to be, but who knows tonight? Hopefully it is recording. So, yeah. So all of the members that'll get a chance to see this on the replay, if you are a new member and you're watching this on the replay, make sure that you are signed up in our user community, right? I've seen some of you new members posting some posts, and I've responded to all you guys. You're showing some pictures of your studio, which is really cool. But part of the benefit, or one of the largest parts of the benefit of becoming a member, is that user community. And there's a lot of great people over there that have been here since the beginning, some of them, all helping each other, giving you mixed critiques, sharing ideas, sharing sales on plugins, studio, studio gear advice and studio setup advice. So if you're a new member and you're watching this on the replay, make sure you take advantage of the user community. It really is a special group of people, and you really ought to definitely check that out for sure. Don't forget to join the user community. All right. And make sure if you're a new member, we got a couple of brand new mixes tonight, but I want to see all of our new members. I send you an email on the 20th of every month, reminding you have 5 days to finish up your mix. Send your mix into the mixing contest. I don't care how bad you think your mix might be. Your mix is not as bad as you think it is. And trust me when I tell you that that's the best way for you to get better. And if you submit your mix every month, even though I don't review everybody's mixes live on camera every month, I rotate and go through to make sure everybody gets a fair chance. But if you send 12 mixes in, you're going to get in at least 5 or 6 of the live coaching calls. You're going to see me critique your mix live at least a half a dozen times if you send it in every month. If you only send it in once or twice a year, you'll probably get in, but you're not going to get the full benefit of that as well. So there's a lot of bonuses, a lot of stuff, and a lot of tools and a lot of resources inside of that community, inside of our membership that you want to take advantage of. Make sure you also go to the bonus section when you log into your mixingmadeeasy.net account. There's a whole bunch of freebies and bonuses and tutorials and a whole bunch of stuff I give you at no extra charge. Go there and absorb all of that stuff. It's the only way you are really going to get better at this craft. Okay? The cats that are here tonight, a lot of them are here. David S.J., Jimmy Farmer. There's a lot of people, and I'll miss some of your names, and I apologize. But the ones that have been here for a couple of years that do mixes month after month after month after month and send them in, they get better. They are far better today than they were 18 months ago, right? Even though we're all trying to improve, they've taken full advantage of all the things we have to offer here. So make sure you're doing that if you're a new member, okay? I don't want to see you spend the money every month or every year if you're on an annual plan and not get everything that you can out of it, okay? So that's it. Anybody got any questions? If not, we'll jump in the studio one and we'll listen to some mixes. Okay, let's do that. And we could always take some questions afterwards as well, because I always do that for you guys. Oh my goodness, my headphones are way too loud. I've been listening to music all day, so God only knows how long my ears are going to hold up tonight, but we're going to give it a roll. We're going to give it a roll, because that's what we do here. Everybody ready for Christmas? Who had Santa Claus come early and buy you something new for your studio? Let me know in the chat room, would you? Which one of you guys... And I'll make sure this time that I put the screen up so you guys can see it, because I screwed that up the last time too. Hold on. There we go. So now everybody should be able to see this thing here. Okay. So I'm going to try to run this from the studio live tonight if I can. I don't know if I can. We're going to try. Okay, the first mix is by Richard. Now, for people that don't know, that are not members here, this song is the song by the band Lightspeed, and the name of the track is Sunrise. It's a client. I mixed their entire album earlier this year. This album, I don't even know if it's been officially released yet, so I'm not even really supposed to be playing this on YouTube, but hey, we're here, and they gave me permission to use it, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, you could check out Lightspeed, or wearelightspeed.com, I think is the link. If not, I'll put it in the description after the stream so you can check out Lightspeed. Great band. A lot of great players, a lot of people, heavy hitters in the music industry in the band that play on several tracks. People from Alice Cooper, people from Toto. On this particular track, all the synthesizers and the keyboards are played by Oliver Wakeman from the band Yes. If you don't know who that is, you should Google them, but most people here know who that is. So this was a great album to mix. Come on now. It's got kind of, the whole album's got kind of a, I want to say kind of a 70s, kind of a cross between Styx and Yes, but more modern sounding, if that makes any sense. That's a kind of vibe. This song is very in that style. So let's listen to Richard's mix and see how we did. How did we do, Richard? And let me know in the chat if the, oops, I got to scroll down to the bottom here. Let me know in the chat if, let's see, anybody here? Let me just make sure no one's telling me everything's a mess. All right, everything looks good. I know David S.J. got a new guitar, or no, Santa brought David S.J. a new guitar. Santa brought Uncle Dave here a couple of Neve Portico 542s, which are killer, by the way. Well, Jim got a ultraviolet EQ. Yeah, the ultraviolet EQ, by the way, those 500 series modules by SSL, they're all got heavy discounts. You buy, Jim, how much did you pay for yours? I think it's like $500. It's like 50% off. It's like $400 off. You should get that. Let's see. Abe says he's looking into a Black Lion Bluey next month. I have a Bluey as well, Abe. Great compressor. Doesn't sound... Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't sound like an 1176 Blue Stripe. Yes, it does, but it's way more aggressive. So it's a really cool compressor, by the way. Elm Treeson got another Gibson acoustic. Great. Brian's got an SSLG, got the G Comp coming. Yeah, that's another one. The 500 series G Comp is, I think, $500 or $600 off. I mean, if you ever wanted an SSL bus compressor, the same one that's in my console, that's a $1,300 or no, is that a $2,000 compressor? Now it's on sale for $1,200. It's something like that. It's a crazy deal. You should check it out. Brian says the Feral Fish Pulse 16, cool. Michael says I sent you a UC1 for Christmas. I hope you're enjoying that thing. It's a really cool product. It really is. Brian says $1,000 off. Yeah, it's a lot, man. It's great. It's great. Go buy all that stuff now. You know, why not? If you're going to buy it anyway. Okay, here we go. Let's listen to Richard's mix. This is Sunrise by Lightspeed. Let's take a listen. See how he did.
Sunrise.
Overall, the balance sounds pretty good. I mean, you could look at the EQ curve and see that. Nice job, Richard, by the way. That's a nice mix. A little bit of low end. I think it could use a little bit more pop on that kick. I know the client, the drummer of this band, you know, he was one of these, you know, I think we talked about this with whose song recently. Oh, it was Jimmy's song, The Malchicks, where the guitar player wants the guitar louder than the rest of the band. Well, isn't the same problem here, Jim? You weren't the only one. I have a drummer in this band who I was working with. Drums were never loud enough, no matter what we did. We almost had to trick them to believe that the drum should be a little lower in the mix. But anyway, the kick drum can use a little bit here. Now I could see where your roll off starts at around 80 hertz here. Let me get rid of this cut, this boost here. If you see where the low cut filter starts.
Sunrise, another day, another star.
So you have a low cut starting to really drop off pretty steep at around 73. That's why I don't hear the real thud of the kick here. Sorry, just making sure my wife's okay. It's a text from my wife to make sure everything's all right. Everything's cool. Okay. So you want to get that bottom. I mean, it sounds pretty well balanced. It needs a little bit more pop on the kick. Because I can tell you that this would be difficult to cut through on small speakers from that kick drum. I put a little bit of sparkle at around 7K or so. It's pretty good. I just think it needs a little bit of bottom, a little bit of top to get it to come to life a little bit. But the rest of the balance is pretty good. And remember when we've talked about before, again, a lot of you people on YouTube that are not members, again, a lot of free advice tonight. Tips that nobody tells you. You need to become a member anyway. If I take these away and if you just look, our members know this because we talk about this a lot. But I'm going to give everybody a free tip tonight because Uncle Santa Dave here is feeling generous. When you put an EQ like this on your master bus and you listen to the stereo mix, here's a good indicator. It's one data point to tell you, even though you're supposed to be using your ears, not your eyes, if the mix sounds balanced, you're normally going to see a fairly even distribution across the whole frequency spectrum. You're not going to see any major dips. You're not going to see any major boosts. You're going to see pretty even, and then you may have your low cuts and your high cuts. Look at the graph on this. You can see that it's fairly even, and that's why it sounds balanced. It's one of the reasons why it sounds balanced, and one of the reasons why the EQ, for the most part, is in pretty good shape, with the exception of a couple of little bumps, as we were talking about here. Let's see how we did in the bridge. It's a good mix. Just a little bit of bottom and a little bit of top. Just a little bit of bottom and a little bit of top. And even the top, you could even, it might even be a little heavy. I mean, I'm being picky. Not so much the top, the bottom's a little light on this. And again, it's just because the low cut's a little bit too far up. But great job though, Richard. I mean, really, good job, brother. Okay, Ben C is up. You know, I'm going to try to use this too. I keep putting my hand on the mouse and keyboard because I keep going from one surface control to the other. And I forget to do that. Here we go. I'm even going to use the transport. Let's see what Ben C did. Ben, I hope you're here.
Sunrise.
Okay, my first thought is the synthesizers or the keyboards in this place need to be louder. Okay, part of the reason why we made it really loud in the original mixes too is because, you know, in this particular song, I mean, it was the main player in this was Oliver Wakeman, and when Oliver Wakeman is in your band, you want to make sure he can be heard clearly, and so his mix, his tracks are a little bit buried here, and also too. The band wanted this to be more of a more featured of the synthesizer as opposed to the guitar. Now that's a stylistic thing where if you're not a big synth guy, you may lower the synth and raise the guitars and make it more guitar driven, but that's not what the direction from the band was. But even so, I think the keys could be louder.
Sunrise brings a new chance, a brand new.
Look at that EQ curve. Okay, that's another reason why I can tell that the thing sounds from an EQ perspective. It sounds pretty close. Just look at it. that is an indicator that he did a good job on his individual tracks EQing for the most part. Now, because this is a public live stream, so all the YouTubers and all the haters, don't mistaken me. I'm not saying that because that looks a certain way, it's a one-to-one to the sound, and that you should be mixing off a graph and not using your ears and not knowing how to use an EQ. I'm not saying that at all. Okay. You have to understand the basic fundamentals of EQ. You don't mix off a graph. All I'm trying to point out is it's a tool, it's an aid for people that are new. When they're not really sure if they're EQing things right, or they're not really sure, they get to the end of the mix, if it sounds right, because you know if you're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and if you're not working in a good treated room or you don't have a decent set of headphones, you may be a little confused on what sounds right. It's one indicator, okay? That's all I'm saying. So when you look at this and you say, wow, the last two mixes, those EQ curves look pretty flat across it's balanced. Right. That's one of the reasons why.
Yesterday has gone away. Now we might have a new beginning. Today could be the one we've waited for. This could be the morning.
And you did a nice job on the kick drum, not so much the low end. The low end is right there, but listen to the slap of the beater. Okay, for people taking score at home, that's somewhere between 5 and 8K is usually where that slap comes through, and that slap's important when we're listening to things on small speakers, which is where most people listen to things today. Earbuds, headphones, iPads, those kinds of things. You can't, it can't produce that 40, 50, 60 hertz, right? So in order to hear the kick on what's driving the song from the kick point of view, it's up in that 5 to 8K range. And I could hear the slap. It's nice. And it doesn't rub against the bass guitar because it's up more to the top end of the frequency spectrum.
Sunrise shines a light into your heart. Sunrise, another day, another start. Yesterday has gone away. Now we might see a new beginning. Today we'll bring a chance to free ourselves, a line on understanding.
And the other thing you did really well besides the kick drum, which is perfect, is I can hear all the tom fills, right? A lot of tom fills in the song, and you can hear them all. You did a nice job with that. A lot of times those get buried.
Sunrise, 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 sunrise. Here in the morning light, finally day has begun.
And you did a really nice job on the back. Now, this is another thing that comes up a lot in the coaching calls that most people here tonight don't get a chance to see. Whenever you have, and there's a lot of vocals in this song, right? A lot of background vocals. And a lot of times when you're panning stuff hard left and hard right, we've had issues in the past where we pan them and they're louder than the lead vocal up the center. That's not the case in this mix. He did a really good job. He's got them panned hard left and right, but I could hear everything straight across the whole stereo field. And that's important in this song. And that took me a lot of time to get right on the record. A lot of automation there to make that sit right. Because when you pan things hard left and right, they get their own space. They jump forward in the speaker, and it sounds disjointing when you have vocals that are louder than what's coming up the middle. And this sounds right. You did a really good job on that, Ben.
Reach out, embrace a new day. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within. Sunrise.
The only thing about this mix that I think needs to be changed, you say, I mean, you grab the EQ, you don't need to, is that main keyboard lick. This main lick, because it's the main theme of the verses, is a little too in the mix, too in the pocket, I think.
Sunrise shines a light into your heart.
Right, that's the main theme of the hook, and it's buried. Outside of that, that's a hell of a mix, Ben. Good job, brother. That's a great mix. You did a really good job. I'm proud of you. This is not an easy song to mix, by the way. That's why I picked it. It's hard. To make it sound like that is not easy. Great job. Who's up? Brian Hall. Brian, who bought a whole bunch of new gear recently. I saw your email. Santa came early to your house, I think a couple of times.
Sunrise. Sunrise. Chase the darkness far away.
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, it almost sounds mono. It's not, I don't hear the background vocals. They're not big and wide like the other mixes we heard. And it sounds like maybe a little overcooked. Did you run all this through all that brand new gear you bought? just ran it, slammed it through every piece of saturation and everything else you had. Let's listen. So again, now compared to the other two mixes that are nice and big and wide and very immersive, this is very narrow sounding compared to those.
Sunrise brings a new chance, a brand new day. Yesterday has gone away. Now we might have a new beginning. Today could be the one we've waited for. This could be the morning. Sunrise shines a light into your heart.
Yeah, and you made this more guitar driven. So this is, you can hear, and the guitars sound great, by the way. I mean, there's nothing wrong, again, if you're making a stylistic choice, because I don't remember saying to you guys in that particular call, you need to make it sound like the reference, because you don't really need to. This, you kind of do whatever you want. So if you're making a stylistic pick to make the guitars a little bit more forward and everything else a little bit more back, that's cool. I don't really have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. It sounds very narrow. With all those background vocals, they should be big and bold and clear, like we heard in the other two mixes. So I think that you would have done a little different. I think you said you experimented a lot. Okay. Okay, cool. Hey man, part of working, being a member here is experimenting and trying things, right? Pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. We're all getting a bunch of new gear. I know Brian gets lots of gear, and the only way you know how this stuff works or doesn't work is to push it to its limits and to overcook stuff and to just try stuff. Okay. when you're working in a context like we're working in, where these are not for client, these are not client mixes, these are training mixes, right? Try stuff. You'll find out what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. And by being a member, for people that are not a member that are considering it, by listening to a bunch of different mixes and having me comment on them, and you get to post it on the forum and have other people listen to your mixes, and you get to listen to other people's mixes, you get more information, better ideas as a mixer. It makes you better in the long run. Oh, and you said you didn't use your Sonar Works either. That's probably what's going on there. You were probably mixing. You're probably used to using your Sonar Works, and maybe for some reason you didn't use it and it clouded your judgment a little bit. That happens, right? So that would be my main critique here. It also sounds like there's a mask, right? That's why I took this little dip out. When I take that dip away, it feels like there's a mask, like he's singing like this into like one of those COVID masks. That's what it kind of sounds like, where his vocal sits. So just be aware of that. A lot of ch as well on that lead vocal, so be careful of that. Okay, just so you realize that. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a lot of ch.
Feeling alive of the suns. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within. Here in the morning lights, thoughts of the past fade away.
Okay, so Brian, you got it, right? You're going to go back to Sonar Works. That's probably a good idea. Because if you're used to mixing with Sonar Works, you want to mix with it. And again, I just started, I've used it on and off over the years. I'm trying out their new stuff today, like I said, on the console. And I spent the whole day shooting out the room and listening to lots of music. And at first, it's a little disjointing. And you know what? The number one thing I was really looking for is the low end, to make sure I wasn't using too much sub. And I spent a lot of time running back and forth to the car. But I will say that what limited experience I have with it thus far, my first impressions are the Sonar stuff is pretty good. It corrects a lot of some of the issues. And then you could go in and you don't have to use 100% of the correction, and you can kind of dial it back to where maybe you're only using 80 or 90% of the correction if you're trying to find that happy medium. But if you're used to mixing with it, then you mix a song without it, it's got to be totally like, whoa, you know? So anyhow, okay, Daniel's up next. Here we go, Daniel.
Sunrise. Chase the darkness far away.
Okay, so not bad. Snare is the loudest thing in the song. Kind of like what the drummer said to me when I was sending mixes back. Can you turn up the snare? Can you turn up the snare? Can you turn up the... Anyway, the snare is too loud, right? The snare can't be the loudest thing in the song, and it can't be louder than the lead vocal, right? So we got to turn down the snare. That's the first thing. Right, so the vocals got to come way up. So again, and I know every member here that's going to hear knows what I'm about to say, but for the ones that don't, because you're lucky enough to be peeking in on something that most people don't get a chance to see, you absolutely, 100% of the time, I don't care what you're mixing by what artist, what style of music, you need to mix with reference tracks. It is absolutely crucial as you're learning the craft. And even after you've learned the craft, I mix with reference tracks every single day. I've been mixing for 25 years, 20 of those years professionally. Good mixing engineers use reference tracks, okay? Not to just copy it, although we do that as part of our monthly training challenges. Sometimes we say, hey, try to match the reference track, even if you don't like the way the mix came out, because I want to train your ears. But you got to use reference tracks, right? So if you do not have a reference track plugin, something like Sample Magic AB or Plugin Alliance Metric AB or something along those lines, and I'm sure there's some of our members here in the chat that use different ones that would be willing to tell people tonight which ones they use. You absolutely want to use that. It is the roadmap to understand in your listening environment, whether it's treated well, not treated well, using speakers, using headphones, whether the room is accurate or not, doesn't have as much of a bearing on it when you're mixing music and you have no roadmap of what a commercial release track in that same style is supposed to sound like from a balanced perspective. Okay, so when you're a member here, as you guys know, but for people who don't, I provide not only my mix of the month's content, but I also will typically give you, if it's a commercial song, the commercial release of it as well. So you always have at least one, if not two, reference track to bounce your mix off of to make sure that you're in the ballpark. Okay, that's so important. It's so important because if you don't do that, you are mixing in the dark. It's like driving down the highway with no headlights and your eyes closed. You have no understanding of what the thing should sound like in the end. Even though you think you do, you really don't. None of us do. That's why we're using references, okay? So you absolutely want to do that. And that's how you won't end up with a song where the snare is the loudest thing in the song and it's louder than the lead vocal. Because if you use a reference track and you use it, right, and you study it, you'll know that, oh, wow, the vocals should be a lot louder than what I have, okay? So do that. And again, not picking on you, Daniel, because you usually turn out excellent mixes, and this is not a terrible mix by any means. But whenever there's a teachable moment, my job here as your coach is to tell you so the next time you have that sunk in your brain. Okay? Let's listen to a little more of his mix. Now let's go to the bridge section. Let's see how you did in the bridge. Okay, so all those tom fills are completely missing. There's a big blah, 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 totally gone. Also, the bass is louder than the vocal here too. So in this mix, right, Daniel, go back, got to rebalance it. EQ wise, not too bad. Got to do a little rebalance. Okay, Andy's up next. Let's listen to Andy. I'm trying to use the studio. I'm not touching the mouse and keyboard at all, guys. I don't know. This may turn out to be a decent controller after all. Let's see. Okay, here we go, Andy.
Sunrise.
Okay, so here's another one where that the keyboard lick should be way forward. So it sounds like to me there's a lot of reverb on that that's pushing it way back in the mix. The vocals sound nice and big and bold and up front and pretty spread out. Maybe a touch too much reverb on it, but that keyboard's definitely got to come forward. Yeah, so it sounds like between the keyboards and maybe the guitars, the electric guitars, it sounds like there's some kind of a room reverby thing kind of happening there, which is a completely different reverb. I can tell what's on the vocal, and it kind of clashes a little bit. So the thing about reverbs, especially room reverbs, and I tell people all the time, if you're going to use a room reverb, be very, very sparingly. Room reverbs typically, not always, typically, they have a very hollow sound to them. And if you put too much on them, it makes it sound like in this case, the electrics sound like they're in a room reverb. So it sounds like they're kind of far away and everything's kind of disjointed. So be very careful with room reverbs. And if you're going to use them, using very sparingly. And usually if I'm going to use a room, I'll usually send it into a plate or something like that to not have all that early reflection sound. So you just want to be careful about that. Yeah, so there's a lot of room reverb, a lot of reverb on those guitars, and they sound good, but they sound like they're much further away. Those guitars should be a lot more forward. Remember, what's reverb going to do from a perception point? Yes, it puts space around the instruments. Absolutely. No kidding, right? Duh. But what also reverb do is it gives it the appearance or the perception that it's sitting further back in the mix, right? So think about when you're on stage. And I like to mix like this a lot. Where you kind of visualize where everyone's going to kind of be, right? And that's kind of how you want it to be. You don't want the guitars to be standing behind the drummer or sound like they're standing behind the drummer. The drummer should not sound closer to the front of the mix than the guitar, at least not in this mix. Maybe there's a mix where that could be appropriate. Can't think of one offhand, but not in this one. Not in a rock and roll track like this. Definitely not. Okay, see, that's all with reverb. So again, like I'll tell you guys in the content, and again, here's another freebie for YouTube. The way reverbs, and again, this is my own opinion and the way I use them. And this is the way a lot of commercial music is too. If you listen to commercial music, if you use your reference tracks and you listen into commercial music, for the most part, you don't hear a ton of reverb in commercially released songs. You feel the reverb way more than you hear it. Now, there's exceptions to that, and it depends on the decade. And if you listen to hair metals in the 80s and stuff, I get it. But more modern style popular music, I don't care what genre it is, you don't hear a mountain full of reverb on everything. Now, there is a mountain full of reverb in the mix, guaranteed. And there's a lot of delay and slaps and stuff that you don't hear. You feel it. It gives the track more size. So what I try to do with reverb more times than not, and the way I try to teach it is, if it's obvious that there's so much reverb on something, it's way too much. Obviously, if you can't hear it, it's not enough. And it should be where you just got to kind of close your eyes and focus, and I could hear the tails of those reverbs. That's about right. And then it's a matter of taste, up or down a little bit. But if it's way too obvious, it's usually too much. Like on the guitars, excuse me, in this case.
To free ourselves, line on sunrise. Here in the morning light, finally day has begun.
Nice job on the vocals. Very Pink Floyd sounding. Sounds nice.
Here in the dawning light, feeling the life of the sun. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within. Here in the morning light, thoughts of the past fade away. Here in the dawning light, reach out.
So again, I took a little bit of mids out because it felt a little honky to me. Not too much though, around 2 dB. And then I added a little bit at around 2.8, about 1.5 dB. Pretty good mix though, Andy. It's one of Andy's first mixes being sent in. Great job. I'm proud of you. You did a good job. It's not a bad mix at all. Okay? Not bad at all. Keep using the content every month. Trust me when I tell you, 12 months from now, you won't believe the mixes you have. And I tell my new members too, if whatever your first mix is with our content, I want you to take that mix and I want you to put it somewhere and save it for safekeeping. And I don't want you to listen to it again after we go through the critique for 12 months. And next year, after you've done 12 months of content with us, and if you're using the content, I want you to pull that mix out and compare it to your latest work. And you'll be shocked how much better your mixes will be. And you won't even realize it because it's slow progression. It's a great thing. You'll be really proud of yourself. But geez, I can't believe how much I was turning out that crap a year ago. That's what you'll say to yourself. And I don't mean the mixes are crappy, but that's what you're going to say because you're going to be so much better. You will be. Trust me. Okay, here's Raphael.
Sunrise. Sunrise. Chase the darkness far away. Sunrise brings a new chance, a brand new day.
Okay, so I'm missing part of the bass guitar in there. The guitars are louder than the bass, which is fine. And again, you may have made a stylistic choice here where you put the guitars ahead of the da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, which again, I don't think is the right decision, but that's a stylistic thing and that's cool. But remember now, you also got to think too, when you're making some of these decisions, you got to get, we talk a lot technical about EQ and compression and reverb, and don't use this and don't do that. And we're talking from a very geeky engineering technical thing. But there's also a time where you need to be able to turn your brain off and start thinking about vision and what serves the song. That that's the theme of the whole song. It's not the from the rhythm guitars, the palm muted rhythm guitars, right? So you got to kind of have those instincts to say, regardless of what you think, what's the main elements that should be more featured? Aside from the lead vocal, certainly. Something like a repetitive keyboard lick like that. Much more than the guitars, okay? So you got to think about those things. And that comes with time, experience, and just doing lots of mixes and doing what else, everybody? Say it in the chat. How do you know how to make those decisions? What do we use when we mix? I've already said it 3 times tonight. Please, somebody in the chat, tell me what I'm about to say while we continue to listen.
Yesterday has gone away. Now we might have a new beginning.
You get a gold star, Jimmy Farmer.
Today could be the one we've waited for. This could be the morning. Sunrise shines a light into your heart. Sunrise, another day, another start.
Nice job with the vocals and the vocal spread. Let's go to the bridge here. See what we did on that bridge. How did we do with the vocals and the bridge? Let's see.
Here in the morning light, finally day has begun. Here in the dawning light, feeling the life of the sun. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within. Here in the morning light, thoughts of the past fade away.
Another thing to that lead guitar, those little licks behind the vocals sound good, by the way. Behind the lead vocal, move it out of the center a little bit. Right into the center. It's right behind the lead vocal. So when he plays those nice little tasty licks and that vocal tail is ending at the end of the phrase, you can't hear the lead guitar very well. Don't turn it up. Just scoot it over to one side, 20%. And all of a sudden that guitar is going to sound like it's playing with the lead vocal, like a duet, which is what it should sound like here. But not a bad job, Raphael. Nice job. And by the way, you got the answer right too. Reference tracks. There you go. Yeah, you guys are learning.
In the dawning light, reach out, embrace a new day. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within. Sunrise,
Maybe a little more clarity on that lead guitar too. A little bit of 5K would have helped that. But it's a good mix, man. Keyboard is the main thing there. Okay, let's keep moving. I know you're saying you're talking too much. I'm trying to trying to give you as much useful, hopefully it's useful to you, information. Brian Kaufman's up. Brian, here we go, brother. I think I'm gonna have to turn this up because it looks like it's low gain.
Sunrise.
Yeah, it looks like it's low gain here. Let's give you a little clip gain there. There we go. Keyboard's too low in the mix. Even lower than the last one. Okay? Again, just remember, going forward, what's the theme? Right? Make sure the theme is presented. Right? Background vocals be a little louder too. Remember, it's like a choir. Those ones you panned hard left, right, sound good. Pick those up. Make that. There's a lot of vocals in this song, right? So the style of this song is very vocal heavy. So we want to make sure we can hear those vocals clearly across the whole stereo field. Like right there. Okay. So use automation. Back in those other parts, they were a little too tucked in.
Shines a light into your heart. Sunrise, another day, another start. Yesterday is gone away. Now we might see a new beginning. Today we'll bring a chance to free ourselves, a light on understanding. Sunrise, sunrise, sunrise. Here in the morning light, finally day has begun. Here in the dawning light, feeling the life of the sun. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow again.
Did a nice job in the bridge. It sounds good. Again, the mix sounds pretty good, except for the main theme keyboard isn't there. And in this particular mix, it just needs to be there. It just does. Okay. Good job, though. Andrew's up. Getting used to the Studio Live console thing more and more. Here we go, Andrew.
Sunrise.
Okay, so listen to the beginning. Listen to those vocals again, how they're very up the middle, or not big and wide and lush.
Sunrise.
Yeah, it sounds very narrow, the mix. It's, you know, the panning isn't really there, especially on the vocals. So that's something you may want to take a look at for sure. And the snare is a little, it jumps out a little bit too much, and in certain times you lose it, and certain times it pokes through a little bit. Could be a compressor thing in the way maybe you have that set.
Shines a light into your heart. Sunrise, another day, another start. Yesterday has gone away. Now we might see a new beginning. Today will bring a chance to free ourselves, a light on understanding. Sunrise.
A little more overheads too. The cymbals are very buried in the mix. Let's hear how you did on the bridge.
Sunrise, sunrise, sunrise.
Acoustic guitar. That's the main, other than that lead guitar, that's the second main instrument in this particular section of the song, is that acoustic, and it's very difficult to hear. I hear you have it panned a little to the left. You want to bring it up in the mix a little bit more.
Here in the morning light, finally day has begun. Here in the dawning light, feeling the life of the sun. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within. Here in the morning light.
Right, so there's a lot of vocals in this section of the song. And we're having a hard time hearing most of them, except for the lead one, which is the most important. But all those other background vocals are way down in the mix. They need to be considerably louder. Okay, so just rebalance that. I mean, EQ wise, you did a pretty good job. It's just the balances that need to be looked at. All right, Angela, Tony's up. Here we go, Tony. Let's get you rocking and rolling.
Sunrise.
Do I hear digital clipping in the beginning of that? Let's hear that again.
Sunrise.
Okay, so focus in on the left side. It's in the left ear, and it's that male vocal. You could hear it clipping a little bit. Listen again.
Sunrise.
Right there.
Sunrise. Chase the darkness.
Okay, the background vocals really don't hear them very well. Again, big and wide they should be, right? They're a little too tucked in.
Far away. Sunrise brings a new chance, a brand new day. Yesterday has gone away. Now we might have a new beginning. Sunrise, sunrise.
Something there in that last vocal part. That's not, doesn't, the background vocals sound pretty good there. We could hear him here, but something popped out at me. Right there, sunrise. So it sounds like either a de-esser of some kind that's popping. Again, it sounds like it's in the left ear, left speaker. Sunrise. So it's probably a de-esser plugin that's causing that. Could be careful about that. It's okay, Tony, if you didn't hear it. That's all right, man. That's why I'm here, to try to help. So you guys will get believe me, some of these little things that you can hear, it just comes with time and experience, right? The more of this stuff you listen to, the more mixes you do and really listen, you'll start to pick these things out. Happens. It's just time on the road, brother. That's all it is. Time on the road, you'll be able to pick these things out. It's why I do all the ear training with you guys during the content every month that we do. There's a reason why I do it, and I harp on you guys. I'm trying to train your ears. So when that little thing pops up, you go, whoa, something's wrong, right? It just takes time. Not a big deal, brother. Bridge sounds great. Nice on the acoustic guitar. It's probably one of the better acoustics we heard in the bridge tonight. The only two things I really hear with this mix are at the very beginning, there's some clipping on something, and then that little poppity DS-y thing. Other than that, you did a good mix. And also, David SJ may be right. He could say something could have happened when you rendered it that might have caused that little blip. But make sure too, right? Before you send the mix to anybody after you render it, you should listen to it. Not that you didn't. I'm just saying, for people who don't realize that or didn't think about that, don't ever send the mix after you render it without listening to it from top to bottom, because things do happen. Little glitchy things do happen. It happens. You know, technology's great, but it ain't always perfect. Especially if you guys are rendering MP3s, which I know is what I ask you to send me to keep the file sizes reasonable. So MP3s especially, you want to just make sure that you listen to it before you send it. It's good practice, you know, if you're going to mix for other people or bands or your friends or whatever, clients at one point, hopefully, you don't ever want to send something without listening to it after it's been rendered. Okay. Who's up next? Oh, Tony again. Tony and Tony. I thought, okay, here we go.
Sunrise.
And that's why it doesn't sound like it has no top end. You got to way dip off at like 10, 11K. So the whole top end of the song is kind of gone. So I don't know if you did a, what you call it there, a high cut thing there, and you just maybe got a little too aggressive and didn't realize it. But the mix is kind of very muffly sounding.
Brings a new chance, a brand new day.
Okay, so in this mix, balances are not too bad. It sounds like the band and the vocals are very disjointed, right? So it almost sounds like the music end of it, minus the vocals, have like a blanket over the speaker almost, right? It's a kind of muffly kind of a sound, and the vocals seem a lot more clear. Okay, so that's all in EQ. So you just got to make sure that you have a lot more clarity than that. You got to be really careful with your EQ. Okay, so I'm not really sure what could have happened there, but that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like the vocals and the music don't lock, they don't jive, and it's because there's a big time darkness to the music end of it, and the vocals seem a little bit brighter to me.
Sunrise, another day, another start. Yesterday has gone away. Now we might see a new beginning. Today will bring a chance to free ourselves, a line on understanding. Sunrise, 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 sunrise. Here in the morning light, finally day has begun. Here in the dawning light, feeling the life of the sun. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within.
So pretty good balances in the bridge itself. It's just, again, the music has got a lot of warmness to it that really needs a lot more clarity. Again, all just an EQ thing. But the balances overall are not too bad. Nice job, man. All right, we're getting last two. Thurston's up. Here we go. Pardon me. Look at this. I'm not touching the mouse and keyboard, guys. Look, Mom, no hands.
Sunrise. Sunrise. Chase the darkness far away. Sunrise brings a new chance, a brand new day.
This is another mix where the keyboards are a little, excuse me, the synthesizer's a little bit behind the guitars. And it should be the other way around. But it's not way off like some of the other mixes we heard in that respect. It's pretty close, but just a point to make.
Yesterday has gone away. Now we might have a new beginning.
And the background vocals should be a little bit wider, right? So when he comes to that last line, when it should be nice and big and wide. It's very up the middle.
Today could be the one we've waited for. This could be the morning. Sunrise shines a light into your heart.
said the acoustic guitar should be considerably louder here. I feel the kick drum's louder than the acoustic, and in this section of the song, we don't want to do that. It's the only time the acoustic comes into the song, and it's more of the, this is kind of a breakdown, right? So it gets quiet, it builds up, the guitar and the vocal kind of build, the drums are a little bit more laid back in this section.
Finally, day has begun. Here in the dawning light, feeling the life of the sun. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within. Here in the morning light, thoughts of the past fade away. Here in the dawning light, reach out, embrace a new day. Let the new day begin. Let the love flow within.
Pretty good on the bridge. Again, acoustic guitar should be louder. Background vocals, right, we talked about. But pretty good mix, man. Okay, last one, Robert Booth. Last but certainly not least. Bobby Booth is certainly not least. Let's get him over here. All right, Bobby, here we go.
Sunrise.
Okay, so we got the Chipmunks here. What happened to that, Bob? How is that sped up so much? I don't know. I have no idea what you might have done on the export of that, my friend, but that sounds like it's sped up. Not sounds like, it is sped up. That's the weirdest thing in the world, man. All right. Did you do that on purpose? Wouldn't surprise me if one of you guys did that to me. Well, let's listen to that a little bit more.
Is the darkness far away?
This is a great example. What did I say a couple of mixes ago? Do not send somebody a mix. Pretend I'm your client. Uncle Dave is your client, and I just paid you $1,000 to mix my song. Okay? And if you send me something like that without listening to it, now, could it, you've listened to it, it was perfect, and something happened over cyberspace, I suppose that could happen. I've never had that happen, but it could, I guess. But don't ever export a song and send it to somebody without listening to it. Take the 4 minutes or whatever this song is, 5 minutes long, whatever it is, and listen to it. Okay? It's important. So I'd love to say fantastic mix, and I'm sure that it is, but it sounds like it's 35 or 40 beats a minute faster than it should be. So Bobby, check that. And if your file is fine, will you send that to me again? And if it is fine and it was all screwed up or Bobby said, don't know what happened. Bobby, go listen to that. Send it to me again. If it was fine on your end and something happened in the transfer, you send it to me and I'll do a personal video for you privately and I'll send it to you and I'll critique your mix. I don't want to critique it this way because it doesn't make any sense. But do that, okay? Because and if you just made a mistake and screwed up, then okay, no problem. Hey, we all learn. This is why we're here. We're here to learn, right? But something may have not happened that you didn't even, who knows? Do that. And if you need me to do a private critique for you, I will do that for you. Okay. Sorry about that, Bob. Not all I can say. So I think we got Richard, the very first one we listened to, out of all my notes. Ben's was a close second, but you couldn't hear the keyboard riff. So Richard, you're going to win the BB 105N. Congratulations, brother. Good job, everybody, too, by the way. And I'll take some questions in a second. But great job. Richard, great job. The Kit BB 105N, which is the Neve by Kit Plugins, the Blackbird Neve McBride's Neve console. Sounds great. Email me in the morning and I will send you the license. Enjoy that plugin. It's really cool. Use it on a couple of the mixes coming up in the content. I think you're really going to like it. So I will, because we are doing this, what are we doing here? Because we are doing this publicly, and it's not a private, even if it was a private call. If anyone has any questions at all, I'd be glad to answer them. Now, again, for folks that aren't members, you know, again, this is what we kind of do every month. And again, you know, I've said this every so often to our members, and I want to say it again, especially to some of the new members that'll watch this on the replay. I commend all of you for having the guts to send your mix in and have it publicly listened to and critiqued. That's not an easy thing, especially if you're still trying to get your grips and get your bearings and you're not as experienced as some other people. It can be intimidating. Okay. And I give you guys a lot of credit for doing that. It's important. Sometimes I know you can feel like, oh my goodness, you know, but you know, I'm telling you, it's the fastest way for you to get better at this craft without a shadow of a doubt. So good job for sending in your mix. No matter what I said about your mix tonight or what I've said about them in the past, it's always good to do that. And I encourage every single member that's listening to this video to send your mixes in. I'm telling you, only about 30% of our members send their mixes in every month, which is such a shame because it's probably one of the number one benefits of being a member here is getting the feedback, not only from me, but by your fellow members, especially in the community. So again, all I can do is encourage you to do it. Whether you use the tools or not is totally up to you, but I would encourage you to do it. So again, this is kind of what we do, guys, for people who are here for the first time. If you're interested in mixingmadeeasy.net, go over to mixingmadeeasy.net. You will see that it says membership is closed because it is. It wouldn't open again until July, but because I screwed up the live stream tonight and this wasn't supposed to be a private, I wasn't supposed to be public. If anyone is interested that's not a member, just email me through the website. I'd be happy to, you know, get you in. You will not get better, faster at this craft anywhere else but here. I promise you that. And all this kind of teaching and teachable moments and exercises and ear training, I do even a lot more than that during the monthly content. The members here can attest to that. So does anybody have any questions at all? Anybody at all? I'd be happy to answer them. While I'm here for a little bit, I know we're running a little long, but we have more people here than normal. So I'd like to help anybody out that I can, because that's what I do. Try to help you guys any way I can help you. And I hope you guys are all getting ready for Christmas, and I hope your family is all safe and healthy. Brian says, hey, Dave, what kind of SonarWorks EQ swings do you get in your room? The change was so stark in my room, it almost made me not trust it, which is why I'll go back and forth on it. It did not make a huge difference in my room. It did tweak my low end a little bit. I found myself over time creeping up that subwoofer, which I always tell you guys you shouldn't do. And I'm, you know, again, I like listening to that bass as well. And I had a little bit of a bump there. I had about an 8 dB bump around 50 hertz. So I went and adjusted my sub a little bit. Also too, as I've been adding more hardware in the racks, you know, more stuff in the room, I wanted to make sure that the response of the room was the same. And it was. It did change. It changed the low end probably the most, but then also too a little bit in the upper mids. So again, it wasn't wow, a difference, but it was enough of a difference where I went, wow, that was really interesting. So I spent my whole day listening to a lot of reference tracks on it, running out to my car with those reference tracks on my phone and just judging the room. And I think it does a pretty good job. I'm not 100% sold on it. I'm going to do a couple of mixes on it and see. Again, you know, will I use it long-term? I don't know, but I know a lot of people love it. And it seems to, again, it gives you a guide to see at the end of the day, regardless of whether you use something like SonarWorks or not, if you're not using it and your room isn't really telling you the truth about what's going on in the mix, I don't mean that that's okay, but that's okay if you're using reference tracks, because in the reference track you're listening to in that same environment that may not be accurate. So if you're using reference tracks and you're mixing to those, then the room being off a little bit isn't really going to matter. But probably what you don't want to do, although I know, Brian, you said you were just experimenting, which is totally cool. You don't want to be switching. I'm going to do one mix with it, one mix without it, one mix with it, one mix without it. That would be that would scramble my brain like scrambled eggs. I wouldn't be able to do that because you get used to the way things sound. However, it is good to check yourself every now and again and to do those things to just retune your ear, recalibrate your ear. But it wasn't a massive difference in my room. It wasn't massive, but it was enough. It was enough that I was like, ooh, interesting. Interesting. Hoosterbud says, I enjoyed watching. Cool. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you're here. Raphael says it's intimidating to have our mix critiqued, but hopefully we'll improve in the long run. Hopefully you will. I'm telling you, will. If you do, because I see your mixes all the time, if you use the content, I tell people, being a member in and of itself is not going to change a darn thing. You need to use the content. Every month, if you don't have 4 to 5 hours a month to dedicate to this, don't even bother signing up. You go tell me what website's going to tell you I don't want your money. They'll sell you anything. I don't want you to be a member if you're not going to use the content and you're not going to get better at this. Then you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. And I don't want you, that's not what it is. You need about 4 to 5, 6 hours a month to really go through the videos and to really put a little bit of effort in. And I know that's difficult for people because we all have busy lives. I get it. I try to make the content as concise as possible, but I don't, as you know, I don't breeze through the content either. I try to really teach you guys things. I mean, I really try to do that. And so you will get better, Raphael. Not maybe, you will. I'm telling you, you will. Just keep going, brother. Just keep going. So I'm glad that you're sending your mixes in. Let's see. Oh yeah, David said 50% off all the home recording made easy training courses right now, by the way, guys. So if you don't have all those courses in your library, you should, especially if you're using third-party plugins. You should check out Mixing with Analog Style Plugins Made Easy. Yeah, that's what you should check out. Hi, Dave. Is SonarWorks working on the M1 machines? Yeah, mine's on an M1, Raphael. So yeah, it seems to work fine for me. Now I have the latest one. I guess I don't know how new it is. It's new to me. I had the old reference 4, and now it's called some reference ID or Studio ID or something. They changed the branding a little bit, but yeah, it works fine on my M1. No problem, man. No problem. No problem. Brian says, happy holidays, men, rock on. Mixing Made Easy is the best place to be. Yes, it is. And thank you for being here. You're welcome. You're welcome. And everyone have a Merry Christmas, by the way. What else we got? Any other questions? What do we got? 33 thumbs up. How about that? Well, that's really nice of you guys. We've got 37 people still here. This is great. What else we got? Harley says he just finished Mixing with Analog Style. Oh, good. How did you like it? Great course. See? Great. Thank you, Harley. Thank you for the positive feedback. I'm glad you liked it. It's the only course on the planet that shows you how to use those plugins. Isn't that funny? I can't believe it myself that all these companies that make all these, analog plugin emulations of all the old gear, right? All the fun plugins that we all like to use, right? But nobody shows you how to use them effectively. Nobody. I mean, it's really shocking. So I'm glad that you liked the course because that's what it was really intended to do for people that are jumping into that third-party plugin pool that think, you just go out and buy stuff and it just throw it on the track and it just makes it all sound better. Well, you need to know how to use them. There's a very specific way to use those kinds of plugins. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Awesome. Oh yeah. Elm Treason says it's called Sound ID Reference. That's right. Thank you. Johnny says, I watched your videos for some time now. Cool. Always like them. I happened into this tonight. This was pretty nice. Awesome, Johnny. Thank you so much for watching the courses. I'm glad this was helpful to you. I'm glad you guys got a chance to take an inside look at what we do at mixingmadeeasy.net. Milkman says he owes both Sonar and IK Multimedia ARC. Yeah, IK Multimedia ARC. I've never used that, but I've heard a lot about it. I much prefer ARC. Oh, you do? Why, Milkman? Because Sonar seems to be like the industry standard, but I do know about Multimedia ARC. What do you like? Why do you find that? I might buy that now just to try it, just to compare the two and report back to you guys. I wonder why. I wonder why you like ARC better. That'd be interesting to know. Elm Treason says that I return again and again to Mixing with Analog Style Plugins. Amazing course. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If people don't have it, you should go buy it. It is 20 some odd hours in length. It's like going to university and it's on sale for 50% off. Bobby Boots says the BPM was 140. Was that not the BPM? That sounds about right, Bob. I don't know if it was one. I'd have to go back and look. Oh, it was 130. It was between 130 and 140. I don't know. Go to your sent file that you sent me the email and download the file that you sent me and see if it plays like that on your computer. That's really weird, man. That's really weird. That's really strange. That's really strange. Who knows? Maybe it happened during cyberspace. I don't know. Anyway, Johnny says it was 120. Oh, okay. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've mixed the song. Angus. Hey, Angus. Hey, Dave. Just wondering, do we listen to these songs with closed back or open back? Well, you can listen to them with anything. Do you mix with closed back or open back? You know, I've used open back headphones to mix for a long time. And then I've, over the last couple of years, switched to closed back headphones. And I like the closed back a little better myself, but a lot of people would swear by open back headphones for mixing. Again, headphones are a lot like speakers. They all sound different, man. They all sound different. None of them really sound, identical to each other, just like studio monitors. That's why whatever you pick, I'm sure is fine. And once you learn how commercial tracks sound, again, reference tracks, once you learn to what commercial music sounds like on whatever you're using, your brain calibrates to all the different frequencies and the balances and stuff. And then when you're mixing, you'll have that point of reference. So I've used both and I've liked both. The only reason why I use closed back, the reason why I switched to closed back really wasn't so much for the sonics of it or anything like that, because I had the Sennheiser HD 650s, I think, for a lot of years, and those were great. Was because when I mix with headphones and teach tutorials, the bleed would bleed back into my vocal microphone. That was the main reason for me having to go to closed back, was really because of the content that I do. But I like the HD 650s by Sennheiser, and those are open back. But these I like just as much. And I know these Neumanns so well now that I know what a mix should sound like on them. And it's just a matter of, knowing your stuff. Oh, let's see. Anything else? Pardon me. Anything else? Jimmy says, Jimmy's talking to Raphael. Angus says, thanks for reaching out to me ASAP when I reached out to you. This course is great. You're welcome, Angus. No problem, man. You guys reach out to me. If you have a problem with something, I get back to you. Usually it's within a day. Sometimes it's within an hour. Depends. Especially if you're having problems with a course or something, or if you're having problems with your computer or something. I try to get back to you right away so you can get up and running quickly. So if you send me an email with an issue like that, you will hear back from me, certainly within 24 hours, but usually much faster than that. Because if I see it, unless I'm driving, 15 minutes. Okay, great. So there you go. Here's a testimonial. Go to the other websites out there that teach this stuff and send them an email and see how quickly they get back to you. Or if they ever get back to you. No, I'm only teasing. They're all great. Anyway, anything else, guys? This was a lot of fun. I'm glad that YouTube got to see this. Once again, make sure you go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. 50% off all the training courses, and Merry Christmas from me to you. And also, once again, if you want to know anything about mixingmadeeasy.net, go over there, check it out. If you're interested in becoming a member, just email me through the website. I will open up the doors. Or you'll have to wait until July will be the very earliest. And then it doesn't open again until next Thanksgiving. We only open enrollment twice a year. That's it. So everybody, last but not least, make sure you have a very Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Stay healthy. Stay safe, right? Get some time into your studio, extra time if you can. If you got some time off from work, enjoy things with family. 2023 is right around the corner, and we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So I'm looking forward to working with all you guys next year. Thanks so much for all your support through the whole year. I hope, especially my members in Mixing Made Easy, I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope I was able to deliver what you expected this year. I'm trying my hardest. So I'm going to continue to try. I love all of you. Thanks so much, and we'll see you guys next year. Home Recording Made Easy will be doing a live stream probably before the end of the year, and certainly Mixing Music Analog will be doing one soon. before the end of the year. So make sure you stay tuned because you'll see us before the end of the year. But you won't hear from me again until after Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. See you later.